Hello, everyone, and welcome to Phoenix Gaming. I am your host, Nick Henning, and this is Tuesday morning, day 3 of World Series of Wargaming 2024. This is your day 2 recap, and let's not bury the lead. I'm super excited to announce that I won the Lost Ruins of Arnak ring competition. Really exciting moment for me. If you've been following me a bunch, then you know that I have hit a bunch of final tables in the past year and even this year, and didn't manage to convert any of those into a win. So I have definitely been, thirsting for a victory, of course. Like, what else would you be looking for? And also, if you follow, you know that this is the game that I practiced the most in the past couple of months. I was having a hard time deciding what to play today, and then at WBC, ended up winning the tournament there. And I decided I would go online and practice the ever-living crap out of this game. And man, did that pay dividends. It's like something like an 80-person single elimination tournament. So 80 some. I think every game was like 3 players. It might have been the perfect 81 across the whole tournament. 4 rounds, 3 players every single round is what I played at the very least. And to be honest, the first 3 rounds, the story of my games are pretty boring. The story of my opponent's games are a lot more interesting. So in the first 3 rounds, I was very lucky to be always seated at seat 2, to always be the person, to always have Prospector, the 2 coin assistant, available in play. And I always drew my 2 explore icons in turn 1 so that I could explore as my first action. And then every single game, I hit either a arrowhead or a ruby on my first explore, allowing me to be the first person to claim that 2 coin assistant. And then also in every single one of these games, there was something very good for me to pick up at the beginning, like binoculars, steamboat and pickaxe, dog. So just absolutely insane starts across the board in every one of those games that did not stop going hard throughout the course of the game. I had 100-point games all day long, which is absolutely nutty. I'm barely cracking 100. I would say you crack 100 like 1 in every 6 games when you're really good or something like that. So to hit 3 in a row was absolutely absurd, and I don't want to. I know that I played my position well, and I snowballed really hard off of my beginning situations. I always had. You could sometimes get jammed up when you're playing the coin assistant with like making your deck too busy or having other issues, but I had ways of like getting exploration tokens, so I was always like interacting with the board, interacting well with the temple track. It was actually pretty rare that I was the first one at the top of the temple track. I don't remember which games I did or didn't make it up there first, but it definitely wasn't the majority of them, because I just had so much other good stuff going on that I was going for like maximum resources, maximum value, and I just produced tons and tons of stuff in every single one of these games. My first round was against a guy that I met at the Dice Tower West event that I helped organize for WSBG, or not organize, they organized it, I ran it. The WSBG event at Dice Tower West earlier this year, and he won the Ruins of Arnak game then, or if he didn't win, he got second, and then he had it in a semifinal. And he's a very good teacher, very good player. We actually bumped into each other online a couple weeks ago as we were both practicing. And so that's not the kind of person you're hoping to play in your first round, but I played against him and a guy whose name I'm blanking on, but is a friend of the guy that I played in the first round of Great Western Trail on the first day. It was both of their first years, and they're clearly very good gamers as well. So RJ scored 91 points that game, which is normally a winning score, but I had just an absolutely absurd game with, like I said, I got Prospect. I think I had Dog really early in that game, so I just had tons and tons of resources. RJ was competitive by kind of having a lot of velocity in the mid game and getting a bunch of the research bonuses that I wasn't necessarily able to get, like on the temple track, and get ahead of me in that way, but. I essentially managed to get the other row of research bonuses most of the time, so didn't really miss out on being a little bit behind there, and otherwise played like a pretty solid, a very solid game throughout. I'm not remembering too much in the rest of the details for game one, so let's move on to game two. Game two, again, both my opponents clearly really knew what they were doing. The opponent quality of this event was, I would say, higher than most of the events, or maybe I just bumped into people that seemed like they really knew what was up, or I don't know if it's just like Arnak is very jammable online or whatever it was. But like the player in seat one, who was sitting to my right because I was seat two, he like knew what the game state was, like what his position was, like all game long. He was like he was like disappointed. He was like, it's not going so well. And it looked to me like it was going well. He definitely topped the temple track first. The player to my left had a very slow start in terms of assistance, but he was doing very clever things with items and artifacts. He'd make a stumble at the end, where he kind of messed up with the Guardian, thinking that he'd moved up to the last space of the Bird Temple track. So he made an error there that cost him a handful of points. I can't remember if it cost him second place or not. I don't remember how close the scores were in that game. But essentially, I didn't win the Temple track. I was very solid on exploration. I think this was the game that I had. No, I was going to say Steamboat and Pickaxe. That's not true. This is the game where I had binoculars. So I just had a lot of resource flexibility, as well as all the coins from the Prospector. I had a thick deck with just like a ton of points in it. That was game two. Game three was against a guy that I'd met last year for the first time, who said that he came to the event finding it via my channel. Him and his brother showed up, and it was really cool to chat with them last year. So it's pretty fun to play a game with him. He was in seat one. To my left is a guy who I heard has over 600 rating on Lost Ruins of Arnak. But again, I had the insane start. And then the awkward part was that the board was kind of clogged up with weird items. And the player, what did I buy? I think I bought Steamboat. So Steamboat was like the best item that was out there. I bought Steamboat, and then the player to my left in seat three was sort of doing the like save your compasses thing. And so he had to essentially buy to end the first turn, or buy nothing at all. And then we flipped backpack off the top, which is generally pretty good for Prospector, right? Because you can buy things and immediately draw them with the backpack. There wasn't anything else really that exciting, maybe like an ostrich out there. And so he decided to spend 3 coins and buy the backpack as like semi a hate draft, but also it was like kind of one of the better options. Like we were having a good laugh about it. He was like half apologizing. It was good, and then it stopped me from it, but the problem was that he wasn't able to actually use the backpack that well throughout the course of the game. It ended up basically being a dollar draw card. It didn't get to like combo with it ever. It was most of the time just like cycling through into like, frankly, like the pretty bad cards in his deck, which I'm going to come back to his game because he did some interesting stuff, but that slowed him down. The player to my right, in seat one, he actually did get a couple decent items in round one, including Whip, which was really exciting because at the beginning of round two, we flipped star charts. And so he was able to trigger star charts off of the Whip, and then also play star charts a couple more times throughout the course of the game. He also had the leader, the assistant, that's like the coin for the compass or the gem, and so he needed tons of coins throughout the game. He picked up like trader scales or one of those that gives one of those artifacts that gives coins. So he had a game that was very thirsty for tablets and coins, and he had a lot of stuff going on that was really cool. But I think a lot of that thirst made it difficult to like necessarily manage his position. I mean, he scored in the 80s, so it was a very, very good score on his part. I ended up getting, I think, lucky, and what was it? Oh, this was the game that I got Airplane later in the game. Like it was like turn 3 or something like that. An Airplane flipped onto the board, and I was able to I needed to get like coconut flasks because I didn't have money on hand, so I like got coconut flasks for the extra 2 coins, and then those coins with what I had left over converted it into an Airplane, which is just nice points and extra compasses that were kind of needed. I can't remember what my second assistant was in this game. The player to my left was doing this he played Ocarina, which is obviously an amazing artifact, better than probably anybody I've ever seen play it. He was just like triggering it, very clever timing with us. He almost always drew his deck every single turn, so he was like drawing into Ocarina over and over again, and like hitting up the top spots a lot. In the last turn of the game, he used Ocarina to kill two monsters that had been left, befriend two monsters that had been left on in play, and I think he didn't do an explore. He just like basically just scooped up what was there, and that was actually the big thing for me that game, because I had so many compasses from the early Steamboat and other stuff going on that I was doing tons of explores, and it killed a bunch of monsters. This was, I think, one of my heaviest monster games. Whereas my opponent to the right, that was playing like the star charts and everything like that, had very few monsters killed throughout the course of this game. He, I believe, topped the track first, the player playing star charts, and then I'm actually even trying to remember if the player that was playing with the Ocarina even slotted. Oh, he did slot into the third plot, because we were joking about what it was, because the first two of us took tablets all the way at the top of the track, and we were joking that the third one was a tablet, but it was a coin. So yeah, again, my opponents played very well. I actually think they played better than I did, but I just had such a powerful start at the beginning that I was able to segue that into another 100-point victory, which was pretty exciting. And then we went to the finals, which is again a 3-player game with Antoine, who is coming from Australia, so clearly someone who was pretty serious about gaming, to fly across the Pacific Ocean, and JC Tao, who won the Heat ring the day before, and is apparently just like an absolutely rock star gamer from what I hear from my social circle. And I was in seat 3, so that was seat 1, seat 2, and seat 3. We had a really awkward flop of cards with horse and airplane as starting cards in play. Seat 1 takes arrowhead, seat 2 takes compasses, and is going to eventually buy trader scales. I didn't know that at the time, because he could have either explored or taken trader scales. Both were interesting options. And then in seat 3, I decided to throw 2 coin cards down and buy the airplane, because I was worried that my opponent seat 1 also had 2 coins. He did. The problem with the play that I made there was that then my opponents grabbed the 2 coin spot and the 2 tablets spot, which left me with actually nowhere else to put my explorer, my second explorer on the first round. So my first round was literally like grab a jewel as my action when it wheeled around. As my second action, grab the airplane as the first action, like pass turn. Or no, advance on the track, pass turn. It was it was like not a very climactic turn, but no one had a climactic turn. Everybody just like advanced to the first spot. No one claimed anything. And then in the second round, I airplaned out, and I didn't draw. I was going to do the third seat thing, 4 compasses plus the airplane to send me up into the top tier, but JC blocked exploration tokens again in turn 2, which was very clever of him, and I didn't draw my exploration token off of my deck, so my turn 2 draw was like not so favorable. So I ended up exploring a tier 1 spot. I think everyone ended up exploring a tier 1 spot on turn 2, but I was able to segue that into getting assistance a little bit faster than the other players. I had 2 assistants when they both had 1, and we drilled down the center deck because the other 2 assistants were like generally considered to be the weaker assistants. And then in round 3, they were sort of playing a game of chicken, where like they wanted each other to grab the second assistant so they could grab the one that was underneath it. And they actually, I think, didn't even do that until round 4, maybe. Round 3 instead ended up being a race to the top, and JC again was like pressing me, and all of us just basically pushed the magnifying glass up. I think it was turn 3 where I hit the top of the track. Maybe it was turn 4 and I'm getting things messed up, or it was like early turn 4 or something like that. It was much earlier than I normally would hit it in the game, but it felt like a game where just the books were not going anywhere. We were all pretty poor. Things were like, resources were just rough. We still weren't flipping exciting artifacts. We still weren't flipping very exciting items. I was ahead in terms of like monsters killed, explored, ahead on the track, which was all very good. JC had a better deck than I did. well, better in terms of a lot more points in it. I mean, I certainly had the airplane thing going on. I was buying cards just to like get rid of fear in my deck and like cycle through and draw just to like increase my odds of drawing airplane every round, which I did. Um, Round three, I had like a 60% chance to draw the airplane, which is great. Round four, I ended up drawing my whole deck, but I did draw it early enough that it allowed me the flexibility of like exploring first and seeing what I needed. And then round five, I had like a 50-50 shot of drawing the airplane, and I did yet again. So was certainly quite lucky in that regard. And I passed on the last turn, and my opponents played the game for another 10 minutes. And most board games, when you pass and you watch your opponents play for 10 minutes, you are in big trouble. I thought I was absolutely toast. But the thing is, everybody thought they were toast. We all had horrible scores. I won the game with 75 points to 71 to 68. So very, very close game. A couple things go one way or another. JC gets to the top of the track before I do, right? That's the 4-point swing right there. That was one action tempo difference. Or by Antoine in seat one, if he said if he hits his pickaxe, he doesn't need to cover his 4 spots. So that's 4 points for him right there, and maybe he could pick up like a couple more in some other locations. Like it's the game is just totally different in so many ways. So it was really exciting, super close. I don't think I've won with such a poor score in quite a while. But it was just a game where everything was awkward. We bumped into each other on purpose. And I'm just so happy. I'm so excited. So I woke up at like 4 a.m. and was so pumped still that Mom and I are about to go get some breakfast and then off to Earth at 9 a.m. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.